Alright, hello people. My name is, I'm gonna get this all set up here, Alexander Nordstrom. I am politically, I'm logical. You look at the root of the problem, or you find the problem, alright, that's the first step. You gotta understand that problem. You look to where it started, how it started, why it became a thing. The symptoms of said problem, all right? And then from there, you're gonna take that and then try and figure out, well, did X, Y, or Z help it? No? All right, why are we still doing X, Y, or Z? Let's do something different. Did so-and-so problem fix it? No, it didn't. Did the government come in and make the problem and is now trying to sell the solution? No, we're not trying to do the snake oil. It's not... I'm not about that. I want to actually find solutions as to help the average Joe, because fuck, I am the average Joe. And the only way we're going to do that is by coming to the table and actually talking and trying to be productive instead of my tribalism. I think backing yourself into a team and or trying to remove yourself from the broader conversation by saying, I'm not a part of this, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm saying. I think that type of stuff is unacceptable, really. It's a lack of a not caring, and I think we're at a point where we need to care. I think we're at a point, I think we're well past the point. That's my dog, Teddy. He's a handful. And the ignorance of bliss is something that we need to try and figure out a way around and try and get more people into the fold, into the conversation without alienating them, without trying to target them, without trying to paint them with this brush of my team or your team, any of that crap. We can't be doing that if we want to move forward, if we want to try and beat the system. We can't. And to give you an example of this is, I know people like to latch onto identities, but when it comes to the MAGA stuff, all right, I know that's a big controversial, holy crap, make America great again, it's racism, whoa. I get that. But at the same time, we can still talk about how we want to make America great again, not as it was, in the sense of the racial division, the segregation, the reversal of policies that helped women into the workplace, all that fun shit. There's probably a sect that believes in that type of behavior, and I don't believe that those people should be taken seriously. But at the same time, we can still talk about, in the Make America Great Again, how our justice system has completely failed. The rise in violent crime, the absolute failure of an education system we have, how most institutions that are currently standing are standing on corrupt pillars, destined to fall and or crumble and take everybody with them, just because of the way we've allowed our society to go. And I'm not saying that there's some other philosophical bit. There might be. I'm not sure. I'm not a master. I don't claim to know. But another example would be, in this scenario, would be the Forever Dems. I don't understand why we have to latch onto a title and then vote for those same people over and over and over again. Especially when the track record shows that the only thing we get out of it is more propaganda, more taxes, and realistically less freedom overall due to laws and regulations being passed that ultimately end up hurting the consumer by reducing competition or barring entry to said competition and making that more expensive. And a great example of this is building a phone. The reason there's only four different manufacturers, I think there's even less than that actually. No, Moto, Samsung, iPhone, those are the only ones coming. I'm sure there's a fourth one. BlackBerry, did they get bought up? I'd have to look this up and make sure. But as far as I'm aware, there's only the two big ones. There's the iPhone and the Samsungs, with Moto kind of being there. I think BlackBerry is its own thing. I really don't think it's part of the, come on, get out of there, part of that family. And one of the things that happened was the amount of stuff needed to create the phone and all the other items like lithium for the batteries and all that. Couple that with other market regulations with building anything here in the United States, and how the U.S. government has created this almost a roadblock. It's a litigation roadblock. If you have the right paperwork, pay the right fees, and it's probably not that much in the grand scheme of things if you're going in it for business. But however, it is financially more viable, as the market has shown, to not produce those here, especially not produce those in a free market environment. We'll have to touch on Samsung and how they control South Korea eventually. There's a couple of YouTubers that I've watched who they do a great, I don't even know what you call it, an essay, a video essay on it, probably. And they kind of go into detail about how this is a thing, and it's not slavery, but it's also not freedom, in the sense where you have the ability to go get a different job and you make the same amount of money or have the same amount of hours. It's kind of like that's it. And that's really generalizing it. There's more into that. And then we have the iPhone. Everybody knows about the iPhones, whoever's going to want to know at this point. And we know their business practices and why they do it. And Android's following in their footsteps now. Samsung, is following. And I don't think it's good. I don't think it's healthy. I think that's part of the reason we've seen a big uptick in people trying to start companies to create phones. But the issue is the market to actually do that is not viable because of all the regulations and red tape and legal nonsense you basically have to do to comply to build it in a system that isn't basically, what would be the term? That isn't, I'm drawing a blank. Either way, subsidized. There we go. I knew I'd think of it. Brain fart. But yeah, so you look at that, and that's just one example of many. There are, and I'm not saying anti-regulation. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be having some form of safety control. I've worked for places that should be shut down, period. We've all worked for those places. We've seen them, we know. And maybe you haven't, maybe you've only heard stories, but anecdotal. I got left up on a forklift with no way down because the guy who ran the forklift thought it would be funny and parked me all the way with the forklift extended on the pallet. I had no way of getting down. I actually had to climb down off of, they have little spots where you can put your feet if you're in a scenario like that. At least the one that I was on did. So thank goodness for that. But there's stuff like that all over the United States still. And OSHA exists to curb that to some extent, but at the same time, I feel like the results of some of these regulations and how the free market has entered, not entered, but conformed to these regulations has hurt America further than having them. or implementing them in the first place. If we just would have left it be. Another great example of this is Tesla and its cobalt mining. Cobalt is not something mined here in the United States. We do not do that locally. Some people speculate it's because we want to use other people's stuff first and leave our reserves here, leave our natural deposits here alone. However, the main argument I've heard consistently, considering there's a gigantic deposit right on Superior and I live in Minnesota, is it's going to ruin the environment. We have too many disasters related to mining. It's not secure enough. It's going to destroy the environment. And so you get into that NIMBY aspect of manufacturing here in the United States as well. It comes with some of the other aspects of the more little bits, like lithium on the lithium deposits in Arizona is another great example. We have the ability to mine and manufacture everything needed for Teslas in the United States. And I'm not just saying Teslas, I'm just using that as a placeholder. This could be any Ford vehicle, this could be a Chevy, this could be a fucking Audi. I know they're not produced here in the United States, but I could be wrong about that. I don't know much about Audis. But if somebody wanted to make an electric vehicle, theoretically we do have the natural deposits, resources needed in order to manufacture and produce most of what we need to make that. I think the only thing we're lacking truly is rare earth minerals. But either way, that's a tangent, and I don't really want to get on that. I just want to get on the whole aspect of a lot of the time this argument when it comes to when you're talking about the political aspect of everything, when it comes to any argument period, a lot of the times you go into a conversation and it's going to be a you versus them mentality, and that is fundamentally the wrong stance to have in a conversation period, because the conversation implies two cooperative parties. If both parties have a mutual want to communicate, then the conversation will be successful. And I think we have an epidemic of individuals who do not realize that, whether it be through ignorance, whether it be through lack of knowledge, whether it be through perceived stance. One of the common jokes on Republicans is we have sharp teeth and we're angry red monsters, and it's not. And I don't know why I just called myself a Republican, because I'm not. I feel like a Republican half the time because they've been making a lot of fucking sense lately. But that's besides the point. The are the liberal snowflake for the liberals. It's that type of behavior alienates the conversation. And so when you go into this and you have that mentality where this person is going to be wrong because X, Y, or Z, and you're already listing those in your head, or you already have them just prepped in some manner, you've lost the conversation already, because at the end of the day, the conversation isn't about who's wrong or who's right. It's about trying to come to a common ground of understanding. And if we continue what is essentially just a form of tribalism, and how it continues to go, if we continue down this road, it's only going to get worse. It will only lead to more division, more hatred towards one another, and it's ultimately we the people lose. End of the story. We lose as a whole. And I know that's not a fun thing to say. I know that's not something that you want to win. You feel like that's a good thing when you win. And just like it feels horrible when you lose. That's not something that will ever go away. That's part of human nature. That's hardwired. Because when we won, genetically speaking, when we won, our ancestors won a fight. I mean, that was their survival. That was them being able to pass on, or have the potential to pass on, their genes and live another day. Which is, again, if you think about it, a lot of it, when it comes to tribalism, that's basically it. You're just securing your future and your tribe's future. And America wasn't built on that. It was built on the idea that all of us can have very different opinions, very different religions, and still have a country, still have a functional country that is the best, period, because we don't discriminate, we don't, and yeah, we've had our problems, we've definitely, as a country, there has been things that have happened in our history that should not be accepted, should not be played down. They are horrible monstrosities, and that still does not give the right to my tribalism. A great example of this that a good example of this that I've been seeing a lot of is, so for all who are unaware, Democrats used to be the KKK. History says, if you look at history, the views flipped. They were stout. I'm not sure exactly the political affiliation, but their cult when they were the KKK. I mean, they were the KKK, but they had certain political beliefs, and then the party rebranded, and eventually it formed into what is now the Democrats. And just because the history of the Democrats is one of racial division and horrible racist monstrosities, I don't believe that should be the case moving forward. And I don't want to accept that that's okay. That's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm saying. I don't want you to think that. It was an example of one of the things that I've been seeing. Or a better example would even be America and all the racist shit we did. I mean, it's clearly, it's played out. Things happened. Very bad things happened. Leave it at that. Because I know I wasn't a part of that. I know my family wasn't a part of that. We did not. We came here after World War II. I think actually in between World War I and World War II, I have a great, my dad's side, I'm pretty sure I have a great uncle, or great-great uncle, or great-great-grandpa, excuse me, who is, and that would put him, somewhere in the 1930s, 1940s. But we can trace our logs back. We clearly immigrated here. We did it the right way. We had the channels. They took away parts of our name because it didn't conform to the English alphabet. That is a thing. And there's a large portion of the population that lives here currently that were never part of those things, and have no history in those things. And if we start digging up and continuously pushing these narratives of fighting for causes and blaming other people for things that they had no say in, they had no deal in, even if they, for some perceived complicitness, I don't think that is genuinely helpful to anybody's argument. I think that only furthers the divide and the negative annotations that is, or the negative consequences that is tribalism. We as America were never supposed to be tribalisms. You can think the states were supposed to be the tribalism in that sense, where each state technically has its own ecosystem of individuals who live there and their own population makeup, and certain regions really heavily moved in these specific states, and you can think about it like that in that sense. But as a collective of states, as a republic of states, our ideas came together and formed what is America. And I think we really need to make sure we hammer that back in, especially and just remove this tribalism aspect. It does nothing for anybody. It doesn't help the individual. It doesn't help America. It doesn't help you or I. And to say, well, he's just saying that because he's privileged, he's just whatever. No. I've been homeless for 2 years of my life. I've lived in a freaking camper for the last 3. My family no longer talks to me because I'm outspoken about my politics. I'm not privileged in any way. I've had a bad life. And I'm poor. I'm poor as fuck. I'm barely making it by, and just like you are the person next to you. Nobody here is rich. And I'm not saying that's the problem either. Clearly money makes the world go around and money makes everything better, but again, that's just another form of tribalism masquerading. And all it does is strengthen the disconnect between the two groups. And we need to stop that. We do. At the end of the day, we need to. If we want to survive as a country, if we want to bring back what is, what was, and what could be. As simple as that, what could be. I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to go forward that as a group we cannot do if we are consistently fighting amongst one another and bickering about stuff that basically boils down to tribalism. Yeah. Either way, this has been Primal Pith, or just letting you guys know how bad tribalism truly is, and trying to shed some light on what I think is a big issue in America and our politics scene. And there's nuances here and there, for sure. But I think if we can all start to come from an aspect of we're Americans, we're not a Democrat, we're not a Patriots fan, we're not a Vikings fan, we can be that, but we're also more. I think if we can come from that angle, when we start having conversations, I feel like a lot more productivity when it comes to understanding, and not trying to win the conversation, trying to understand the conversation. I feel like that is something as Americans we desperately need. But yeah, anyway, sorry, signing off again. Primal Piff. It's gonna take some time. Anyways.